This is the Mazda 787B, a Le Mans championship car over 50 centimeters long. It is famous for being equipped with a rotary engine and its comeback victory in the 1991 24 Hours of Le Mans. Meanwhile, this is another original set newly launched by CaDA that has obtained official authorization from the car manufacturer. Fully redesigned front and rear suspension systems. A newly developed 3-cylinder 4-rotor engine. An officially engineered dynamic version with quick assembly and disassembly. A highly robust main body structure. And fully printed components, all reflecting highly mature productization practices. So in this video, let's take a look at the specific performance of this set. Let's start with the packaging. The color box features a 2-piece lid design. In the upper right corner, you can see the official Mazda authorization logo. The age recommendation is 8+, and it contains 1,797 pieces. On the back of the color box, in addition to a finished product image from another angle, there are also several detailed images and function illustrations below. However, it does not showcase the more fundamental designs, such as the triangular rotary engine and suspension. Additionally, the side of the color box displays the finished product size of 50.4 centimeters, while the other side features a color illustration of the prototype vehicle. When opening the color box, there are 2 sorting boxes inside. In total, there are 26 parts packages, which are divided into 4 major steps. There are 2 instruction manuals in total, with only 4 color pages at the beginning. The total number of steps adds up to 546, with an average of 3.3 parts per step, making it a relatively detailed step-by-step design. In terms of parts, we can see that all the patterned areas of this set use printed components. And there are many appearance modules with cross-brick printing like this, which are also assembled into a module first and then printed as a whole. In other words, this completely avoids the potential pattern misalignment issues caused by printing tolerances. Okay, now that we've looked at the basics, let's take a look at the internal design while building it. Here is a 3-cylinder 4-rotor engine, and surprisingly, it is built with just a few brick parts. The test results show that the smoothness is without any issues. Like the prototype vehicle, the 2 small hard shock absorbers of the rear suspension are installed transversely. Meanwhile, it is connected to an extended structure on the upper control arm and also has a certain slope. The test results show that the rebound force is relatively strong for a 1 to 10 scale sports car. There's definitely no issue with the support. Looking at the power structure, the designer has reserved power interfaces for the entire rear suspension module, allowing power to directly enter the differential. After passing through the 28 to 12 gear set here, it transmits power to both left and right sides. The overall driving gear ratio is 2.33 to 1. It is a setting that offers moderate driving speed with a bias toward torque output. After the large chassis modules are combined, we can see that the rear suspension power is directly connected to the triangular rotor engine. In the dynamic version, the motor power first passes through the engine and then reaches the rear suspension. So there will be a slight power loss in the engine here. However, through testing with the motor added, the linkage is still very smooth, and the reliability also appears to be without issues. The front suspension adopts a double wishbone structure, and the designer also uses 1 small hard shock absorber on each of the left and right sides. But unlike the rear suspension, one end of the shock absorber's support point is set on the lower control arm. It can be seen that a structure is raised from here, and the test shows that the rebound force is moderate and the support is without problems. Looking at the steering and steering wheel linkage, after the power from the servo motor enters through the pre-installed axle, it drives the steering rack through this 12-tooth gear inside, thereby driving the vehicle to steer. The steering wheel linkage is achieved through a set of 1220 and 2012 gear sets, and the test shows that the steering wheel returns to the center position without any issues. And according to the manual, this is a right-hand drive vehicle. In addition, we can also see a steering limit structure designed here. Next, we can also clearly see the modular design of this 787B here. The entire building process took approximately 8 hours or so. The final built product is 50.4 centimeters long and weighs 1.56 kilograms. Compared to the prototype vehicle's length of 4,782 millimeters, the exact scale is 1 to 9.5. In terms of appearance, the first intuitive feeling is that the entire vehicle has basically no hollowed-out broken surfaces, and the degree of integration is very high. However, as a Le Mans racing car with a relatively square and full overall profile, the vehicle indeed doesn't require creating too many complex angles. We can still observe subtle angular details with high continuity, such as the bodyside waistline that gradually tilts upward from behind the front wheel arch to the rear wheel arch. And here, below the door, curved technical panels are used to converge inward, creating small detailed designs such as air intake channels. Similar small detailed designs also include, for example, those above the rear wheel arch and in front of the rear wheel. In addition, we can also see that this 787B has even recreated the feature of small front and big rear wheels. Not to mention, in the 1 to 10 scale, such details are rarely seen even in the flagship 1 to 8 scale sets. Moreover, the rear wheel hubs are in a golden version. Based on the information found on internet, this should also be consistent with certain versions of the prototype vehicle, so it's indeed extremely detailed. Of course, it should be noted that it would be even better if new parts could be mold opened. Of course, the number 18 race car was not the champion car of the 1991 Le Mans race. The championship car that year was the number 55 racing car with an orange-green color scheme, while the number 18 car ranked 6th that year. So maybe some players will consider modifying it into an orange-green color scheme version. In terms of functionality, first, the front and rear suspension rebound is as seen in our review. Through testing, the suspension support proves to be without issues. The rebound stroke and feel are both very clear. The steering and steering wheel linkage test also showed no issues, but this vehicle does not have a steering knob. Looking at the opening and closing of the doors on both sides, they can be directly opened like this, and the support after opening is also acceptable. Then, there is the opening and closing of the engine hood. The standard operation is to achieve it by pressing a connecting rod inside the cab. And after opening, the support can also be seen to be quite good. Finally, as a static version, it rolls very smoothly. When the engine hood is opened, we can also see the smooth linkage of the triangular rotor engine inside. So that's the functional test situation of the static version. Before proceeding to the dynamic version test, let's first take a look at the firmness performance. First, it can be seen that the designer has basically achieved multi-point fixation for all exterior modules. In particular, take the rear wheel arch as an example. There are two adjacent Technic panels that have a slight angular difference. That is to say, in areas where relatively precise angles are created, it can be seen that there is absolutely no sense of looseness here. In addition, whether holding it from the front and back or from the left and right, the test showed no issues in all cases, and during the process, it was also evident that the entire vehicle's frame is extremely sturdy, with no sense of looseness at all. Well, although the front of the car and the doors, and the rear spoiler uses some tile parts, but normal touching won't cause them to fall off, meaning there's no abnormal looseness. And after the vibration test, the firmness should be considered at a very excellent level among all the building block cars we have tested. Okay, so next, we'll proceed with the modification and testing of the dynamic version. The power components required for the modification only require one servo motor for steering, one linear motor for driving, and a set of main control units, which is almost the lowest cost modification configuration. The modification process is also very simple and can be completed in just a few minutes. The test results show that the driving speed is roughly at a medium level among building block cars. That's also due to the previously mentioned gear ratio of 2.33 to 1, which is set to prioritize torque output. During the entire control process, there is absolutely no feeling of powerlessness. Both starting and steering can be said to be quite agile. And as mentioned earlier, this car also demonstrates excellent firmness performance. So it is indeed very suitable for dynamic modifications and daily play. and can even be challenged for RC modifications to a certain extent. In terms of the overall building experience, the product maturity of this set is relatively high. During the entire building process, there were basically no steps or modules that were difficult to assemble, including operations such as calibrating the gear angle related to the steering wheel returning to the center. Prompts are also provided in the manual. Overall, this set and the previous 63003, McLaren Senna GTR, 63004, Lamborghini LP700, and 63006 Porsche RUF GT, they are all highly mature commercial sets designed by CaDA own team, which is vastly different from the Master series. Therefore, it is also a set quite suitable for new players to get started with. Of course, there are still some minor shortcomings. For example, in the area where the dynamic driving motor is installed under the car, one of the pins uses a part numbered 87082 as a fixed point. When installing the motor, rotation may occur, which means it might be a bit hard to install. Of course, this issue does not exist in the static version, so a reference solution could be to consider modifying step B20 to be like what's shown in the video. In addition, the part numbered 71682 used for building the side skirts may have a slight skew in the axle hole. Of course, after installing the entire module onto the vehicle body, there will be no issues because it is fixed at multiple points. So that's it for this review. See you next time!